This Honor X80 Pro Max has many creases and bumps inside the screen. It's not just at the top, they're visible from top to bottom. Now look at the Huawei Enjoy 90 Pro Max. It doesn't have this issue at all from top to bottom. What's going on here?
This is quite disappointing. The biggest selling point for these two budget phones is the camera deco, which mimics their respective flagship models. The Honor X80 Pro Max mimics the Honor Magic, and the Enjoy 90 Pro Max mimics the Huawei Mate. The second biggest selling point is their naming. With both Pro and Max, it's just over the top, maximizing the emotional appeal. Why did I say earlier that they mimic the design of their own flagship models?
Because their circular camera modules actually only contain one camera each. The Honor X80 Pro Max has a sensor size of about 1/2 inch, an f1.88 aperture, and supports optical image stabilization. The Changxiang 90 Pro Max has a sensor size of about 1/1.56 inches, an f1.9 aperture, and does not support optical image stabilization. Let's look at their comparison samples. The Honor has more noticeable ghosting, and the image quality is worse, both in the center and at the edges. Also, the Honor's image is very flat, with no sense of depth. However, the Huawei has a severe color cast, appearing reddish overall. Both have plastic frames. The Enjoy has a matte finish, while the Honor is glossy and easily picks up fingerprints. As for other specs, the Honor X80 Pro Max has a single antenna 5G Wi-Fi, while the Changxiang 90 Pro Max has a dual antenna setup. There is something quite strange. The Honor X80 Pro Max comes in 8 plus 512 and 12 plus 512 versions, but there is no 12 plus 256 version. The Changxiang 90 Pro Max only comes in an 8GB RAM version, with no 12GB version available. These are their Antutu benchmark scores. Others have tested the Kirin 8000 at around 590,000 points, which has nothing to do with me. This is Geekbench 6. The Snapdragon 6.5 single-core score is roughly equal to the Dimensity 7400, and the multi-core score falls between the Dimensity 7400 and the Snapdragon 7 Gen 4. Others have tested the Kirin 8000 at around 990 for single-core and around 2800 for multi-core. Both screens are LTPS and similar in size. One is 6.8 inches and the other is 6.84 inches, with a maximum refresh rate of 120 Hz. The aspect ratios are also close. One is 19.6 to 9 and the other is 19.5 to 9. Both have a resolution of 1.5K, so their pixel density is about the same. The maximum manual indoor brightness for both is just over 800 nits and the minimum brightness is about 2 nits. Regarding dimming strategies, the Honor X80 Pro Max uses quasi-DC dimming at medium to high brightness and 3840 Hz PWM dimming at low brightness. The Changxiang 90 Pro Max uses quasi-DC dimming at medium to high brightness and 2160 Hz PWM dimming at low brightness. The brightness threshold for the Changxiang 90 Pro Max to switch from quasi-DC to PWM dimming is about 85 nits. When we enable low flicker mode in eye protection, it delays the brightness threshold for switching. At this point, it adds 2160 Hz pulse width modulation, dimming to the thin film transistor reset, turning it into thin film transistor reset only quasi-direct current dimming. When the low flicker switch is on, the brightness threshold for switching from quasi-direct current to pulse width modulation dimming becomes about 29 nits. Next, let's compare their flicker performance in detail. First, let's look at medium to high brightness at the same level of 289 nits. At this point, both use quasi-DC dimming, meaning they only have flicker caused by TFT reset. The depth of the black bars is similar, indicating their flicker depth is about the same. Now let's compare their flicker performance at low brightness. We must adjust them to the same brightness level for the comparison. At this point, the Honor X80 Pro Max uses 3840 Hz PWM dimming overlaid with TFT reset, while the Changxiang 90 Pro Max uses 2160 Hz PWM dimming overlaid with TFT reset. These black bars represent the flicker caused by TFT reset. As you can see, whether it is the TFT reset part or the PWM dimming part, the black bars on the Honor X80 Pro Max are lighter than those on the Changxiang 90 Pro Max, meaning the flicker depth is lower. This is another advantage of a higher PWM dimming frequency. This is their screen uniformity performance at the same low brightness level. Now let's look at their color shift performance when viewed from an angle. The Honor X80 Pro Max shows noticeable color shifting when tilted to a certain angle. Feel free to discuss this in the comments section. Bye for now. Almost forgot to mention, they both use linear polarized screens. You won't get circular polarization at this price point.